My understanding is that Richmond is in a tug of war about keeping Dusty in a Richmond jumper until he can make 300 games. As I said, he's played 292 as of yesterday. He's told friends and family that he can't do it anymore. He wants to walk away. He's fed up, can't deal with it. But Richmond, as I said, is grappling with the fact that he could walk away, and they're saying, you will regret this for the rest of your life.
Rumours began swirling after round 4 that Dustin Martin wanted to retire immediately. The 32-year-old had just come off a 30 disposal game against the Saints and looked pretty sharp, moving freely around the ground. It was game 292 as well, meaning at the time of making this, he's just 8 games away from the huge milestone of 300, all for one club. Now his management was swift to dismiss the rumours, saying Martin was still in love with football and wanted to continue to play for as long as possible. More players than ever are playing well into their 30s, but this story prompts discussion about the correct time to retire and how to do it. It has been a rough few years for Dusty. The champion has endured troubles with his body and in his personal life with the passing of his father, equating to 44 games played between 2021 and 2023. So far, he's already missed 2 games this season. It all started from that lacerated kidney against Brisbane, with various hamstring and calf concerns all following him as they do with most 30-plus-year-olds. So in his defence, his body hasn't given him the opportunity to play at his peak for some time, although his raw numbers as a high half forward in the back half of 2023 were more than all Australian level. But no doubt since 2021, Martin has slowly gone under the radar in the competition as a force, much like the club he plays for. What we don't want is a bad finish up where he is struggling to get a kick. I'm not saying that will happen, but across the competition, various former stars are crawling to the end. Some of these were pointed out by Kane Corns in this Age article. Even an all-time great in Lance Franklin probably played a year too long. He kicked just 19 goals in his 13 games and quit. It was his choice to go out like that, but for the last 1,000 goal kicker, not to get a proper send-off playing on the field was bizarre.
Swan superstar Lance Franklin is invited to take part in the retirees motorcade before the first bounce, but McLaughlin's unsure if Buddy will be there.
Buddy, we'd love you to be here on Saturday, and 100,000 supporters at the G and millions of fans Australia-wide would love to say goodbye to you because you've been one of the greatest players the game.
He even got booed at stages in the year. Surely we can't have 2 future AFL legends go out with a snap of the finger, but maybe we will. Rory Sloane has been a warrior for Adelaide and did play 22 games last season. At 34 and coming off eye surgery, his career is also in the balance. 2024 was likely to be his last anyway, so hopefully he can get a send-off he deserves. Now this player has had a form boost recently, but Dyson Heppell for a couple years, to some Essendon fans, has passed his time on the field. He is only 31 right now. A lot of AFL players don't get to decide when they finish up, but Martin as of right now is lucky enough to be in that position. So what are the options that he has in front of him? Well, first off, he could stay for as long as possible and try to win another premiership with the Tigers. You're thinking that is crazy, but stranger things have happened. Off the top of my head, only Shane Crawford and Joel Selwood are the 2 significant players in recent times to have finished up on top. Crawford had declared retirement well before the 2008 Grand Final, while Selwood was on the other side, not making his retirement public until well after the 2022 Grand Final. But for where Richmond are at, it seems they are a few seasons away from the top of the AFL. They do have a bit more young talent than people thought, but Dylan Grimes, Dion Prestia and Martin himself are injury risks and really the last few members of the golden era that has just passed. Another option is to head north to the Gold Coast Suns. Some people have reported he was Queensland bound, but this has cooled off for a fair while. If he did decide to go, you think it would be for a couple years and in a mentoring type role, rather than one where he was expected to dominate. This would follow on a similar path from Sam Mitchell, who went to the West Coast for 1 year before becoming a coach, and Jordan Lewis, who spent his final 2 seasons at Melbourne. Both had far different intentions it seems. Mitchell's worked out as he is now Hawthorn's senior coach, while Lewis genuinely believed he had more top level football left in his body. He is now at Fox Footy. For Martin, you'd think it would be to reunite with old coach Damien Hardwick and drift away without Melbourne attention into a sunny retirement. I feel like this option is possible, but less likely than it was a few months ago. Because Dustin Martin is one of the most quiet superstars ever, we have no idea what he will do, but we can try to do our best to predict. Will he play another 4 years to try and win again with this current Richmond team? You gotta say it's very unlikely, and out of all the possibilities, has by far the lowest chance. Could he venture up to the Gold Coast Suns and try to get success there? Damien Hardwick would help, and his overall attention in the state would be dramatically less, so on paper it makes a whole lot of sense, but in his current state, would he go through all that hassle for another year or 2 of playing? I'll give it about a 10% shot. Then all we have left is these 2 choices. His contract finishes up this year and would be the perfect time to hang up the boots. It would end one of the greatest football careers ever and signal the finish of Richmond's greatest era. 300 plus games, all for the one club, and give everyone the time to send him off well, like the club did with Trent Cotchin and Jack Riewoldt last year. In a micro version of this, he may decide to get to 300 games and then call it quits. It makes the most sense for his personality, and in terms of legacy, it's a really nice way to leave. This may be a bit selfish, and I'm sure Richmond fans would agree, but hopefully he doesn't leave like Franklin did. It just wouldn't seem right. He is very media shy, and he may not quite understand how much of an enormous impact he's had on the Richmond Football Club and the AFL as a whole. To give the fans one last send-off so they could honour him and he could honour them would end things a great way. He has nothing left to prove in the sport and is universally recognised as a future legend in the AFL Hall of Fame. A legend deserves to get a proper send-off, but at the end of the day, it's up to him.